Welcome back to the Legit Crypto Lounge, everybody, the place that aims to bring together real projects with real people. For today's AMA, we're rejoined by the team behind Owners Unity, and we're joined by Daz, Simon, and the rest of the team. They actually had an AMA back with us in April, so they're coming back to give us an update on where things are, how they're getting on, and giving us some updates. So for those that are not with us for the previous AMA, obviously we'll add a video link from our YouTube channel so you can catch up there. In this session, we'll still get to know about the team, find out about the project and its USPs, but we'll try and focus more on what the team have been up to since the last AMA and find out what their plans are moving forward. So Daz, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, given for those that weren't part of the last AMA, tell us about your experience and what you bring to the project.
Thanks for that. I'm Das, or Scott is my real name. I've been involved in crypto since 2018, and I've spent most of my life involved in construction, energy sectors. I've run my own consultancy since 2013. I've worked in project management, and I've got knowledge in various other areas through interactions with other business associates. That's me personally. The rest of the team, Paul Somerville, the CMO, who's not here at the moment, but he's got decades of experience in marketing. He's done promotion, social media, all that kind of stuff, and he's the guy that we're looking to move forward the project with. We've got a new COO who we didn't have when we spoke to you last time, and that's Rupraj Mahanti. You guys probably know him as Golden Hands. He brings a lot of experience to the table. He's worked with other projects. He's AWS certified solution architect, so he's involved as well. Shay Taylor, property advisor. He's run multiple businesses since he was 18, so he's got over 30 years of experience in the business sector. Simon, who's on with me, he's been involved in management for 25 years, but he's been involved in property management and sales for 18 years. And I think it's about 7 or 8 years he's had his own business, his own property business. Harvey's the numbers guy. He's been in the field of mathematics for 20 plus years. So he helps with formulas and that kind of thing. And he's been working, obviously he's been involved in crypto since 2015. Barry has 15 plus years in the industry, the content industry. He's dealt with major capital project delivery across every continent on the planet. He's currently working on the Noom project, Neom, sorry, I call it Noom, the Neom in Saudi Arabia, also the Red Sea project and the Marder. So, we've got loads of different areas covered with regards to what we're doing with the team, and we've all come together specifically to focus on this industry because it's something that we all know about. Very briefly about us, I'll keep it brief. Basically, Owners Unity is kind of like DeFi meets housing development, housing property, and the whole idea is to change the way that people look at getting themselves onto the property ladder. That's what we're planning to do, and we're looking to do it through two very simple ethoses, which is everyone has the right to a decent standard of living, everyone has the right to a decent standard of home. Now, it's a coin, well, it's a token that has a lot of real world, it's a token at the moment, has a lot of real world utility. And basically, it's a profitable real world business But from the tokenomics and the token side, which I know we'll drill down on, we offer up to 7 passive revenue streams for our holders. And I think that's key for most investors. The traditional buy, sales tax and staking, and there's a few other bits and bobs on there. But it's a multi-utility project. I like to call it a hybrid project because we're trying to actually bring real-world use cases to crypto and move DeFi forward and help with adoption. So that's the basis behind what we're doing. With regards to the tokenomics, we've got a buy and sales tax where you get...
Sorry, Daz, sorry, just before we get into the tokenomics and stuff, do you mind if we just stick on the actual project itself and then we'll come into the detail of that?
No, I love doing that. It's just I usually get told that I talk too much about the project.
Oh, no, because obviously we went into quite a lot of detail at the last AMA, but I'm just conscious that there'll be people here at today's AMA that weren't part of the last one and maybe won't spend an hour and a half watching that one on top of this as well. So I'd still like to drill down into some of the details of the project itself. So you mentioned it being like property... Not property development, is it? You're purchasing properties.
Yeah, no. Well, basically, we do intend to end up the long-term aims and goals for us is to produce our own properties that are carbon neutral. They run on smart blockchain technology, as I've gone through with you guys before. But if we start with the simple end. Basically, we're looking at an area of the market where there's a lot of people out there who have been impacted by adverse credit conditions, whether that's due to the pandemic. And as I'm sure you're aware as well, people, if you look for a mortgage, every time you run yourself through the system, it gets a footprint on your credit rating. So if you're looking around for a mortgage, by the time you get there, your credit rating might have been impacted to the degree where you can't get it. And there's enough people out there that are paying a substantial amount of money in rent that can afford to pay a mortgage, but they're not getting the opportunity. So what Owners Unity are looking to do is to return the humanity to the process, and instead of relying solely on an algorithm to decide whether you are worthy to have the opportunity to own a property, we're looking to get rid of we don't plan to use the current mortgage system. We have a system which is called the Owners Unity Payment Plan, and part of that involves something called the Owners Unity Affordability Check, which is a full credit check. But once a credit check's been done, we don't then just reject people based on the numbers that come back. We look into it and see if there's a reason why they haven't passed. So, for instance, I know a CEO of a project that was visiting a hospital, and you know what private parking's like in hospitals in the UK. It's an absolute nightmare. He received a ticket, but they didn't actually send the ticket. It doesn't have to be recorded delivery. So he ended up with a county court judgment. And when he found out about it, which was when he was applying for a mortgage, and he got rejected, he found out that he had that against him. So he went back, he cleared it all, but obviously you then have to pay to have everything removed, and it doesn't happen quickly. So there's that issue. In places like America, people get stuck between having to pay their medical bills and paying rent. And there's lots of reasons why people who spend enough money on rent, which is usually higher than a mortgage. So what we're looking to do is to equalise the market and give more people the opportunity. So the reason we exist, I suppose, in the short term is because housing prices increase, but wages are stagnant and credit checks are just difficult, and they have a human aspect about them. So that's what we're trying to do. But we're not just trying to get people into properties. We're then adding a portfolio to the property. So the portfolio provides a passive income for the owners of the properties once they have taken ownership. So they take ownership, there's a portfolio attached to the property, and that provides an extra level of security because it's an extra level of income that's attached to the property. So it gives more people the opportunity to get on the housing ladder because there's less prescriptive conditions, not due to the fact that they're not being credit checked, but due to the fact that we're actually listening to certain reasons why they might have been rejected. You know, we're not, and I need to be clear, we're not looking at this moment in time to help everyone because we're a small startup. What we are looking for is the people that, and you know, there's a lot of upwardly mobile millennials out there that have the funds to purchase a property, but they don't have the credit rating or because of the way that it's structured. And I'm sure you're aware also that currently government's talking about ancestral mortgages where you can take it on and then pass it on to your kids, like 50-year mortgages. The way
I've
that
not actually heard of that.
Oh yeah, Boris was on about it before we got the so
Right.
yeah, no, he was championing it, saying, "Oh, it's a great idea. Get your kids in debt. Why not?" So, when we started, it was a 20-year mortgage, and now it's you can still get different length of mortgages, but a 30-year mortgage we all accept is the average, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's the acceptable norm now. Wages, like I said, aren't going up as much as inflation. The house prices are rising, but the way that our format works, it offers you a way to reduce the balance quicker. It helps improve your wealth because your money is still working for you, so it provides extra financial security, and it really is a simple system. We, just to be clear, we don't provide mortgages in any way, shape, or form. There's no money lending, there's no loaning, there's no leveraging to that degree. Okay, so we don't do any of that. We spoke to the FCA. Like I said last time, the first thing we did was put our plans run our plans past the FCA. They asked a lot of questions, like they do, but they went through what we did, what we are going to do, and said we do need to apply for any licensing for the product that we are offering. So I want to be clear about that. We're also members of the NRLA, which is the National Rental Landlords Association. So, you know, we have the main contract that we use is produced by them. It's a standard contract. So, you know, we are working and operating within the realms of the regulations that we know in the UK. Plus, the way that we are designed is that this should be able to be transferred to any other country globally, because if you can rent a property or buy a property, then there's no reason why, without some tweaks, then this product can't be used elsewhere. And that's the basics. What we want to do is get more people in properties, buddy. You know, and we are a business, so we do plan to make revenue, but we just redistribute the revenue slightly differently than a traditional business, and we make sure that everyone gets a piece of the pie. We don't plan on having massive dividends, etc. Hopefully that's covered, basically, because I don't want to waffle on.
No, that's good. Good explanation. And it makes sense. It makes sense what you're proposing to do and stuff, because like you've given real world examples of how people have struggled when they could obviously afford a mortgage, and it must be really frustrating for them not to be able to get on the property ladder just because of a previous experience that means nothing to them, right here and now. So you've obviously mentioned that you're a startup, and that there's long-term ambitions in terms of building properties, eco-friendly houses and that. But where we are right now and stuff, where do you see, how many properties will you purchase? To begin with, what do the numbers look like?
Starting with a proof of concept. So we've spoken to some investors with regards to just a small trial location, just to prove the concept works, because that's always what's important. We've had discussions with different countries, so it's a case of one property in the UK or one property in America. There's a few locations that are open to us, and we're not going to start big. So it'll probably be 2 to 3 houses to start. But like a good friend of mine says, when you start building a farm, you don't have all of the pumpkins ready to be harvested, so to speak. So we're doing it properly. We've got a formula that we believe works. So what we're going to do is we want this to be something that will be a long-term generational project that will help a lot of people. So you do it properly. You've got and you target a couple of property, and then you start with that. But we've also expanded from when we spoke to you last. So there's other things happening that will help us to purchase more properties as we move along in the short term.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense as well anyway. The capital, just to purchase 2 or 3 properties is potentially a decent amount of money, isn't it? So I wasn't expecting an answer like 10 to 20. And like you said, you need that proof of concept. So, it makes sense to do 2 or 3 to start off with. I was having a look at the example that you gave in terms of purchasing a property, and for 200,000, if they have 5,000 to put towards that property. I just wanted to drill down into a couple of those numbers, if you don't mind. There we go, property forecast. So obviously the idea is somebody comes along, I've not been approved for my mortgage, but I've got, in this example, £5,000 to put down towards the property. I know you don't call it deposit, do you? And so they'll put that down, and then in this example, they pay £500 a month towards the property as well. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
And then looking at so the idea is that obviously a standard mortgage is 20 to 30 years, but with this example, you're cutting that down right back to 11.288 years to pay that off. And at the end of that term, that person will then own that property outright. That's right, isn't it?
It is, yes.
But what I was trying to work out earlier was how that's made up. Just because if a person pays £5,000 deposit,
yes,
and they pay £500 a month towards it, in
yes,
total across that 11.288 years, it equates to £72,728.
yes.
If that house costs 200,000 to purchase, I'm just wondering where the difference comes from of that 127 grand, plus all the other elements that you're looking to give out in terms of putting a portion towards affordable housing, founders, stakeholders, marketing.
Yep, no, I'm more than happy to give an answer to that. What we do is when we get that revenue, remember as well that we are creating, this is based on figures over a 10-year period, and we are also planning to expand the ecosystem, which I will touch on. We've onboarded another real world business that will add a revenue stream from the real world, and we are obviously We have staking when we go live. We will have an NFT marketplace and a launchpad shortly after we go live, and we have a plan to increase revenue streams that can go through the secondary and tertiary tokenomics, and that's the way that we generate the additional revenue. So what we do, this is a new way of thinking. When we get that money, we invest that money. And when we invest that money, we redistribute a portion of the profit of the investment. So, for instance, the 500 a month, you obviously invest that, you generate funds, and we've put example at the bottom, so we've averaged it out 500% over 10 years. And this is just an example. Obviously, it could be lower, could be slightly higher, but we've just used. We believe, and hopefully you guys will all, appreciate that a ×5 profit on an investment in crypto over 10 years, if you have a formula with a fixed entrance and exit strategy, is attainable. Unless something major happens and down the tube, then it's irrelevant anyway. If crypto goes the way that we go in, because we're all here, then a ×5 return on investment over 10 years, I think we can all accept is an achievable figure. It could be slightly lower, like I said, it could be slightly higher. But what we do, we invest that money, and then when we invest that money, so if we keep the figures simple, because it's based on the 500%, the ×5, but what you do is you obviously take the 500 out in the first instance, so that instantly goes against the drawdown of the property. So that's no matter what happens, that goes against the price of the property. Then with the additional funds that come in, that's where you get the division of the distribution and the additional funds that are produced. This figure here is based on the secondary tokenomics, but we've also got tertiary tokenomics, and that's where we make up the additional figures. So the easiest way I like to explain it is we're a business, we plan to make money, but we're not being greedy. We're going to treat the token holders as shareholders. I know they're not, but everyone knows how tokens work. But we are actually going to redistribute funds from the real world business back to those guys through secondary and tertiary tokenomics. And we're also going to return some of it to the clients. And that means that the client's money isn't dead. So at the moment, when you pay rent or you pay a mortgage, if you're paying a mortgage, then you're getting a house for it in the long run, but you're still paying interest. So it's still dead money, and you're not getting any benefits from it. If you renting is dead money. We can all appreciate that. The way we do it is we make sure that your money still works for you. And the way that we do it is once you've made the payment, that money belongs to Owners Unity. So when a client makes a payment and it comes into the Owners Unity bank account, it's Owners Unity's money. So it's up to us how we invest it. We do offer you guys, or the clients, we offer them different strategies, but it's our money. So by law, we invest how we feel that we can invest. Then when we return money, you can also distribute revenue from your business as long as you follow the legislation and pay your taxes. You can redistribute your funds how you see fit. You give 80% of it away to charity if you want. So that's what I say, that we work within the system, but we use the system to benefit the clients and to benefit holders. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Yeah. So you a way of being able to take this mortgage down is through the other elements within your ecosystem, including your secondary and tertiary elements that allow you to invest and then redistribute towards the mortgage, towards holders, towards obviously yourself as well.
And on top of that, the key thing is it's also a good business model, because by doing this, we should also increase volume. You know, if you give people the opportunity of a standard 30 or this, we've already had people that want to take this up, so we know it's lower to start with. But once we have people that have been started the process and the price of their properties being reduced and the other benefits that come with it, then you've got word of mouth, you'll get all the marketing, you'll have more people wanting to sign up, and you know, you get a larger portion of the market. And it's better to have, you know, better to have 30% of 1,000 houses than 100% of 30 houses. You know, so it is business driven. Be socially conscious and run a business.
Yeah. No, I get that. If the proof of concept works, obviously it has a snowball effect, and then you've got an unlimited supply of people wanting to take you up on the offer. It's just making sure that the figures add up to start off with. So, because one of my other questions was on, Toby, if you don't mind going up to the previous page.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so back to this page. And your calculations, one of the elements is, so £55,000 at 500% equates to obviously £275,000, and you've broken that down as a first year, like first year breakdown for everybody. But obviously, you've mentioned that 500% is a 10-year plan. But looking at these figures, doesn't that assume that you're making a 500% return on an investment in the first year? Because when you look at the figures, it shows that the clients paid £30,250 in the first year, which includes the £19,250 worth of rewards from the 500% ROI. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I can explain that clearly. It's to do with our investment strategy. So we are confident that we can achieve those levels year on year with the way that we plan to invest. We can't give all of the information about how we plan to do this, but we believe that in a bull or bear market, if you have the right marketing strategy and formula, you can make a 5-time profit in a 12-month period. That's the key. And what I'll be upfront with you, Mark. We toned the figures down from working on the statistics that Harvey had pulled up about working through a bull and bear market. So that's what we've done, and that's why we thought that we should be cautious with regards to the figures, because that's what you need to do. But we are confident that we can produce a 500% profit year on year over 5 years. But what we've done as the caveat is obviously take into consideration that, yes, you know, there might be good years, there might be bad years. You know, for instance, if say someone takes up a property with us the end of this year, the start of next year, and you know, 2 years in, we hit a decent bull market, I'll leave you guys to imagine what can happen. So in 10 years, I know the market's calming down and we're getting more institutional adoption, but hopefully something like this will increase adoption as well. But in a 10-year cycle, as is, and obviously you have the caveat that the market changes, so the market cycles could change, but you can only base your formulas on existing data. So this is based on existing data, and in a 10-year period, you should have bull markets. And you know, we all know what can happen in a bull market if you are responsible, and that's the key thing. We have a formula with a fixed entrance and exit strategy, so we're not going to be chasing times 20, times 30, times 40 profits. You know, we're not doing that. we have a little bit of leeway and a little bit of flexibility. But we've all been there where you're watching the candle go up and you're like, yeah, this is amazing, I'm going to be rich. And then 2 seconds later, it's dropped and you've lost everything. You're like, what's happened? So it is based on a year, but we are confident with our formula that those figures are achievable. And like I said, in crypto, you can make profit in a bull or bear market, and it's about the strategies that you have to get there. But I will also always say this is a formula. It's based on a figure. We might even, worst case scenario, say we only done a ×2. I don't think that's going to happen. But let's say in a worst case scenario, we only did a ×2. You would still end up with a property less time than you would with a traditional mortgage, and you would still have a portfolio tied to your property that is going to give you a passive moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment. I think I'm just trying to work out what's realistic in terms of what's achievable, and what you've put down in your figures in terms of a couple of slides say it's based on 500% over 10 years, but then obviously this calculation is 500% over 1 year. But if I know that that's what you're hoping and expecting, then at least I know what you're trying to achieve. And then obviously with a caveat that it might not happen, and a realistic target is 500% over 10 years. And knowing, like we said, a bull and a bear market makes a big difference and stuff. But I can see if you get your numbers right and it starts performing, especially in the bull run, like you've alluded to, then it could do something special. Toby, did you have any questions from anybody in the community?
Batman's going to want to ask a couple of questions in a minute, but I think he's going to wait towards the end. Actually, I think we'll get him on in a minute, but there's a couple of questions from me at this point, if that's all right, Das. One of them is just in regards to the plan. Is there a guarantee at that period will go on for a certain amount of time, and at the end of that period, the property is the client's, irrespective of what happens to the investments?
Yes, will be written into the contract.
Okay, so we say in the 10 years, then at the end of that, it's mine no matter what happens as a client.
It's not 10 years. So if the property costs,
sorry,
it costs 100,000, as soon as you reach that level, plus I say 100,000, it's obviously you've got your solicitors' fees, etc. We're not going to pay those for you. But there's no interest rates. So yes, as soon as you reach the figure that is agreed in your contract, and this is another thing we have to do, we offer you to take ownership of the property. So you have a choice to take ownership of the property or to remain on the owner's unity payment plan. Like with everything, it's all about wording and what you offer.
Okay, but and when that initial agreement's drawn up, you'll set a time frame for that?
It will be a variable time frame, because obviously
depending on the cost.
If you take into consideration, but what we can do, and I think what we are looking to do, is to have a fixed period that is then repeatable if certain targets aren't met.
Okay. And my next question, Wood, is just about the investments. Can you give us any more information about where those investments are going, and whether you've done any trials with it up until now, and what your returns been like performance-wise?
We've done some testing, but we haven't done testing in the real world. So it's been testing the formula, putting the formula through a system, looking at what the figures are for the tokens, and then working out the basis on that. What we've also done is we've looked at the data from the previous 5 years. It is the data from the previous 5 years. with regards to cryptocurrency and the volume and the increases in prices, and we have built the formula based on that. But we haven't physically put any money into testing yet, because we're still at the stage of, you know, going through seed, private, etc.
Okay. And in terms of the investments, is it just going to be spot trading, or is it going to be anything else, farming or anything like that, or is it just buying crypto and selling it?
Multiple options, but we don't want, you know, you'll have to understand that we don't want to go into too great a detail, because we don't want to give away that our formula and the way that we're attacking this is our secret sauce. That's how we look to generate the revenue. But we have looked at the markets and seen what is possible, and we have toned down the figures from what is achievable to what we think is an acceptable level, especially if you build over an extended time frame.
Okay. All right, cool. What would you rather, Das? Would you rather, we've got a question from the community now. Would you like that? Would you like him to speak now? It's kind of regarding the payment and stuff, so it's kind of fitting. Or would you rather keep it to the end?
Oh, if I can just chuck something in quickly though, because this is something else I want people to understand. It's not just going to be the client's money that's going through the secondary and tertiary tokenomics. We're onboarding an energy brokerage in the UK. So, you know, you guys in the UK know that energy brokerages can make funds. The average salesperson in an energy brokerage has a target of between £10,000 and £25,000 a month. That's the industry norm. So it's not a massive business at the moment, but if as we grow that too, the revenue from that will also drive the expansion and the ability to buy additional properties. And we are looking at other businesses to onboard to drive the revenue forward. So it's not specifically based on people being in the properties. That's primary. That's who we want to help primarily. But we are building an ecosystem in the real world and in the crypto sphere, so that we can, you know, ramp this up and make it a system that benefits everyone. We are about making money, like I said, but there's nothing wrong, as I said, with helping people and making money. And like I said, there's enough people in the world that could utilize a product like ours, that adding additional real world businesses to add properties and then, you know, expand the business just makes sense, because in the long term you want to make you know, a greater impact, and if you can become a prime mover in the field and get that brand recognition out there, then the company's going to be set. So we'll help people and also build an established business model that others will then have to follow, which then helps the clients more than the institutions.
That's on that then, with the whole building on this ecosystem. So we're slightly moving away from the initial thing of helping people buy properties and stuff. And you talk about the energy brokerage. What targets have you put in place based on this ecosystem that you're building? Because you mentioned about 2 to 3 houses you purchasing initially. You know, what targets have you put in place, say, in year 3, year 5, as to like how many properties you will have by that point, based on your full ecosystem working?
Yeah, and the reason we haven't is because most businesses like that fall down. So what you need to do is get the proof of concept, then have another 6 months, get some realistic figures and data, and then you can plan and format from that. And then when you go back to other investors, will come back to you guys in the community. This is what we've done, this is where we are, and this is what we have targeted based on the current revenue streams moving forward. So that's what we plan to do. We've had to do the formula for the white paper to show people how it works, but we want it to be based in as much fact as possible. And because this is a new, unique product, we need to have real-time data to base, anything that we plan to do moving forward.
Okay, that's a fair comment. You in the previous AMA, you mentioned about NFTs being part of this system. So do you want to talk us through some of that as well? Is that something you're able to talk about in more detail?
Well, thanks. We now have 2 NFT partnerships. So the NFT, and I was talking to someone yesterday about it. I'm pretty sure he won't mind if I mention his name, because he's quite well known in the NFT world. Dreadsong. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him or not. But basically, we plan the NFT to be central, along with our CRM hub, to accessing the ecosystem. So basically, your NFT, and what I was talking with him about yesterday was the aesthetic aspect of the NFT. So, people can have a different choice of styles for their properties, so their NFTs are more pleasing to them. That's, superficial. But the NFT will be tied to all of the legal documentation for the property. That's the first thing that we're looking to do. The portfolio will also be tied to the NFT as well. And the NFT will basically, moving forward, these are the longer term plans we have. For NFTs, it will be the control of the security system. So you'll use the NFT to enter your property. You'll use the NFT to access all of our partner channels. We've also got 4 additional partners now, which is more than we had when we spoke to you last. And we're in talks with multiple other partners. And then the NFT will be used to access the smart chain that we plan to use to run the property. So the property will have a smart board, and obviously that will control all of the utilities and anything electrical in your property, and you'll be able to regulate everything by accessing the NFT. Talking to Dreadsong, we're looking at a lot more and hoping to expand and fully utilize NFTs to their full potential moving forward. They're not being used as well as they can be at the moment, but we want to be pushing the envelope forward on that as well. And we're working with Newton Mint Labs, who are an NFT business partner, and they're going to help us with our 3D modeling metaverse that we also have planned. And part of that, I think I spoke to you about it before, was so in the metaverse, you'll have your 3D modeled property, and then you'll be able to do lots of different things in there, refurbish the properties, and it's all tied to the CRM.
It sounds really interesting. I was actually speaking to one of our other community members on this whole NFT thing, in terms of linking them to property and stuff. And what you're doing is exactly what we were talking about. So that element does excite me quite a bit, because that whole future-proofing side and looking for the future of what NFTs can do properly as a utility is where it's at for the future and stuff. So that could be a big thing for you as well.
Was also talking about the possibility, and this is, I don't want to freak anyone out. This is just a conversation that we had about what could possibly happen moving forward, is NFTs could make tokens obsolete.
Right. I've not come across that conversation before, but it's something to ponder.
I mean, I can kind of see your point. I can see the need for both, though. Like, depending on the project, really. But some things could be totally NFT related and not tokenized.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, a lot of projects
especially
don't
when it
need
comes to things like
tokenizing, do they?
property. No, yeah, exactly. I mean, I was speaking to someone at the minute that's just planning to launch an NFT project with no token attached, and there's benefits to that. But yeah, you don't necessarily need a token, do you, if it doesn't complement the project?
I think it's one of those cases as well, though, and I think that's where a lot of projects go slightly awry in this field, is when they try to run before they can walk or crawl. So when I'm talking about these conversations, obviously we plan for this project to be here for generations. This is, we hope to roll it out and to get it built and to get it growing. We don't expect miracles to happen to be, covering the globe in the next 2 years. But what we are looking at is to push the envelope on the technology, because we believe 100% that if you can get crypto into real world use cases that show your average person how it benefits them in their life, because they're not overtly fussed about 400% APYs and returns and staking or getting a loan against their Bitcoin. What they want to know is it going to feed my kids, feed me, keep a roof over my head, pay the bills? That's what most people think about. So the plan we have is for the real world project. We want to use that as an educational source as well. So it's going to be a normal property company to start with. We're not going to go in hard on saying, we're the first crypto property project. We're not going to do that, because that will scare away more people than it will bring through the door. So the plan is to get people in. They still use their fiat. Then when they're in, we build the portfolio, we give them the options of the portfolio, we explain the portfolios to them. And then when they see the tangible benefits of, their ladder to home ownership being reduced a lot shorter than a traditional mortgage, and then the portfolio that's attached to the property. And I don't think I've touched on this time, but I did before, Mark. It's like if something untoward happens, God forbid, like you have an accident or you get laid off, and I don't know what it's like around the world, but in the UK it's like 2 months, isn't it, Mark? And then you get, then you're off, invited to go to court and leave. Or is it 3 months? It's 2 to 3 months. It's a short period of time. But with our product and our format, say for instance you've been in the property 5 years, so you've built up a reasonable amount towards reducing the price of the property. So to you, rather than you having 2 months to get back on your feet, we allow people to go to the community. The community, if they accept the reasoning, so they can't just do it for business reasons, as in the community can't vote boot people out just so that they can make money. If the reasons are valid, then they will get the ability to draw down on the portfolio, so they don't have to worry about being evicted while they're trying to recover. They can take their time, and then obviously when they're back on their feet, they just start topping up the portfolio and reducing the figure against the property again. On the other side, the flip side of that is, though, some people will try and game the system, and we will end up evicting some people because it is a business. We're not trying to sing Kumbaya round a campfire. We're trying to help, but primarily we're a business, and we have you guys to be responsible to, because we need to return the income streams that we say we're going to.
Yeah. That's understandable. Extending on what you've just said, what happens though if somebody wants to move out before the house is paid off? How does that work? Do they get a portion of the revenue generated? And what about their initial contribution?
That would depend. So, for instance, if they want to move from one property into a different property within our ecosystem, then they take the portfolio with them. So if they purchase a bigger property, so say it's from 100,000 to 200,000, and they've got 50,000 in the portfolio, that 50,000 would then go against the price and value of the property to reduce that, to bring the rates down. With regards to people wanting to move out, you have to be careful about people trying to game the system, to use our system to make additional funds, just to take the funds elsewhere. So we stipulate quite clearly that as long as you stay within the ecosystem, you can draw down on the portfolio. If you leave our ecosystem, then you can't take the portfolio, because it's our funds that we have reinvested to help you get to own a property. So we have to take a business view on that. And the business view is, and remember, we're not doing mortgages. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like a mortgage arrangement or agreement. Also, I would add, say for instance, the equity in the property has gone from 100,000 to 130,000. We will allow them to utilise that equity as well, as if it was their own. So we're trying to be as generous as we can, but we've also got to, be firm and remember that we are primarily a business, and make sure that people don't game the system. Sure, some people will be 100% secure, but we're putting as many measures in place as we can to stop that from happening.
Sure. And I understand you've obviously got to protect yourself and make sure that people aren't just taking profits like you just explained. I guess as long as that's explicitly, explained to people who are coming to purchase the property in the first place, it isn't an issue. I'm just off the top of my head, I was just thinking then about timeshare, the holidays. Oh my God, I bought a holiday and all of a sudden I'm tied to it for life. And it could feel like that to somebody if they missold the opportunity. But as long as you're explaining that to people, clearly from the off, then it isn't an issue.
Will be laid out in the contracts and on the website. We will be 100% clear on the product that we are offering and on the restrictions on the product we're offering. We are offering people the opportunity to own a property in less time and with zero interest. So, that's what we are offering. We are also stating that there are limits, and obviously there are some requirements that need to be met. And one of those requirements is that this deal, the project, the plan is only valid whilst you are in situ in a property that is owned or run by owners unity. If you then leave the ecosystem, you were technically renting, and therefore you have turned your money back into dead money. But the bonus, it's not the bonus for the people that leave, but the bonus is that then that money that has been accrued can be utilised depending on what the community decide. We can give it to charity, we can redistribute it amongst other clients, send it back as passive income. So we're trying to be as fair as possible. But I'm sure you've heard this from your grandparents: firm but fair. Firm but fair.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. It makes sense. Toby, have you got anything to add before we go on to the tokenomics and pre-sale structure?
No, not at this point, mate. I'm keeping up with chat a little bit because Batman seems to have a lot of questions, but I think we'll unmute him at the end so he can ask his things. So carry on running through it, buddy. Let's take a look at the tokenomics and stuff.
Yeah, great. Das, do you want to take us through those? I know you took us through them at the last AMA, but for those that haven't are here for the first time. I don't know if you're trying to speak, Das, but you're muted a minute. There we go.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, so basically you've got your traditional buy and sales tax, where you get, it's 8% buy tax actually, sorry, my bad. So you get 4% that goes to the holders, 1% affordable housing, 1% marketing development, 1% buyback and burn, 1% liquidity pool. I think the key what most people care about is what they're getting. So basically, the sales tax is 14%, and you get half of that. So you get 17% back, and then the rest is divided between affordable housing, marketing, buyback and burn, and liquidity. So they're your first couple of passive income streams. Obviously, if you stake, and we will have staking from launch, if you stake, then you will receive an APY on your stake token. So that's another revenue stream. The secondary autonomics are based on 35% goes to the client, and that goes against the value of the property to help them, gain ownership quickly, or quicker than a traditional format. 5% is shared between all holders. 25% goes to affordable housing. Then staked holders get 12.5%. A lot of projects miss out people that don't stake. So we've tried to be as fair as we can there as well. Marketing and development is 2.5%, and then owners' unity for running costs get 20%. Then we go to the tertiary tokenomics, which is basically we take 35% for the client, and we reinvest that, and then the client gets 45% of that. Owners' unity gets 15%, 4% goes to the holders, 2% goes to charity, 10% goes to the reserve. The reserve is basically a fail-safe buffer. We're trying to do as much as we can to protect any volatility. 20% goes to affordable housing, and market and development gets 4%. Now, with owners' unity, before in the secondary tokenomics, if you want to go back up, you see where owners' unity get 20%. Well, say for instance, just an example, that's £1,000. If it only costs £500 for us to cover our running costs, we don't then divvy up the rest of the money or stick it in a rainy day pot. What we do is we then reinvest that money, and then out of the reinvestment of that money, the token holders get a 4% reward. The client gets an additional 15%. Owners' unity receive 45%. 10% goes to the reserve. 2% charity. Affordable housing is 20%. Market and development is 4%. So this is how the client gets to reduce the length of time, and this is how we generate additional revenue to cover a few areas. The overview and the strategies, that's basically the tokenomics. So as you can see from that, there's 7 different possible revenue streams that a token holder can have.
Can I just ask a quick question on that, Das?
Yeah.
So just going back to the 500% over the year.
Yes.
So 35% of that's going to be going to the client, and that's going to be 500% of their investment. Is that right? And then the rest of it will be here. So even if, or have I just misunderstood that?
No, that's the. This is how we are. Is one of the ways we are confident combining this with our formula that we can achieve the figures that we've set out.
Okay, so where's this? This is the. Is this not the client's investment? What's happening to the client's investment? What that returns?
No, well, the client receives the client gets the investment back, but it's the same as with the original investment. So what you've got to remember is the client isn't investing anything. All of the monies that are being generated are through the owner's unity business. So there is no investment from the client. What we are doing is we are investing our own funds, generating additional funds, and redistributing them differently than a normal business would. There is no investment from a client. So what we do, so that's all right. So that's how that works. Yeah,
that makes sense. I was thinking this is the original fight. Like, let's go to the beginning. I was thinking this is the £5,000 client deposit, the profit, the investment profit of that is how this gets divided, and the client's getting 35%, but still making a 500% return on investment. But now you broke it. Now you said that it's not that. It makes sense more.
Right, cheers.
Yeah, Mark. Sorry, mate. Carry on, bud. Or Daz.
That's the basics behind the tokenomics. There's up to 7 different streams to reward the token holders, and obviously this is also designed in mind with the growth of the company. So whilst 1% here and 2% charity might not seem a big amount to start with, or 10% for the reserve might not seem a big amount to start with, obviously as we grow, the numbers will grow, and that will offer additional revenue to do what we really want to do, which is to try and put more people in properties. And obviously the reserve, the bigger the reserve we can build, which is it's a split between Bitcoin and gold. That's what we plan to have as our 2 main reserves. So what we're doing is, focusing on adding as many fail safes as we can. So we're also in discussions with other projects about bringing in additional fail-safe buffers as well. So the contract, which is something I haven't mentioned, contract and liquidity pool is both locked through Everown. So that's additional security there. We've been in touch with Shearer. He's running us. We will be on his project as well. So we're trying to build in as much primary security, but then trying to have as many additional fail-safe measures as possible. But I'm a realist, and I'll stipulate this to you guys as I do to everyone. We will be as safe and secure as we can, but that's no guarantee, and no business can guarantee that some crazy situation won't arise that wipes multiple businesses out that wouldn't normally be taken out. So we're doing everything we can to be safe, but we're also realistic, and we're not going to say to anyone, we're better than the Titanic. Not that we are the Titanic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just going back quickly to the buy and sell tax. I understand that 1% of buy and 2% of sales going towards affordable housing. Is that are you kind of building up a pot for that? And from that, is this where these eco houses are going to be built, or is that something different?
It's the eco houses are a long-term strategy. So to start with, what we'd look to is to get some HMOs up and running and try and assist people, because although the primary goal is to get more people on the property market, we also want to alleviate poverty. Not everyone, we're not saying we're going to get rid of poverty, but wrong with using this plan for sheltered housing, also for affordable housing, so you can get the more vulnerable people. Like vets are treated disgustingly globally, for instance, just for one example, so if you can build this structure that has the same benefits, then you can get all of the right counsellors and the services in there that these people need to get themselves back on a level pegging and hopefully move forward and have productive lives moving forward. So that's partly what that is, but it's the buy and sell fee aren't the only that are going into affordable housing. We've got the other real world business that will be generating funds, and will be growing the ecosystem, which will drive revenue into the product, and that our goals.
And on the affordable housing, I don't know if you've muted yourself accidentally and you're still talking, but on the affordable housing, will Owners Unity own those properties?
we will be looking to work with multiple charities. So, for instance, the first charity he voted on for us to look to work with and provide funds to is Habitat for Humanity. So Owners Unity will own those properties, and with that, that will be another revenue stream that will drive the ability to build more and to help.
Yeah, which will then feed back into the ecosystem.
We are a business. We do plan to make money. We're just not going to be over about it. You don't need to. It's all about levels, isn't it? You know, you can live comfortably and still help people. That's not an issue. And we would rather achieve our goals through lifting people up than climbing over the backs of people, because you don't climb over the backs of people to get where you're going. You can do it and pull in the same direction. Yet again, not them by around the fire. It's just the fact that you can have a socially conscious, still make a profit, and
It's cut you out again, Das. But yeah, I get your point. I get your point. So that's fine. So let's move on to where we're at then in terms of, you know, getting funding together. So I understand that your seed round is happening at the end of this month. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, no, seed's over. We're up for private. Private starts on July the 29th, and then we will go to public and then to listing. But we're looking. Oh, sorry, go on, bud.
No, that's cool. Yeah, sorry, I didn't realise seed was already over and stuff. So okay, so how much did you raise at seed?
109 BNB.
109 BNB.
Yeah,
okay.
We unfortunately what happened was we launched seed, but that wasn't through private investment. We're trying to do things differently. You know, allow a lot of people don't get access to seed, so we try to allow our community to get access to seed, because, like I said, we've got additional revenue streams that we can bring on board, and we're in talks with people, and we have a greater commitment at this level, because now we have a Reflex Gold certificate, whereas before, when we spoke to you, we didn't even have an audit. So, you know, we're now KYC, we're now audit, we've now got utility. So, for instance, we took AVS over from Stacked. It's now called CVP. We're in talks with 3 partners to develop that into a system that has not yet been seen in the industry. We're also going to release CVP Lite. We've talked with Shieldcoin and Everown with regards to having additional requirements for security. So to get our gold standard, you need to lock your smart contract in your liquidity pool, and you need to be vetted by Shieldcoin to get our level of certification. So we're looking at ways to improve that. And we've also had, once certain projects found out that we are taking it over, we've been contacted by projects wanting to continue the relationship that they had with AVS prior to Stacked folding. So that utility will be up and running about the time of launch, and it will also be generating revenue. So that's a utility for the ecosystem that we already have on board.
Okay, nice. Plenty of stuff going on then. So we're looking at private sale next, and that's on the 29th. How much are you looking to raise?
250 and 500 BNB per site. Between 500 and 1,000 over the 2 sites that we're currently on.
Okie doke. And what's the minimum max contributions on those?
0.5, max is 20, and it's going to be minimum 1, maximum 20 for the public sale. We do have a vesting schedule, and we also have anti-whale and anti-dumping. So we've had conversations with people that have asked us if they can purchase a certain amount, which is why we've set the limits as is. With regards to the anti-dumping, you can only sell 0.02% of the total supply at any one time, and then there's a time lock. And with regards to the maximum wallet is 1% of the total supply.
Okay. And this private sale is across 2 platforms, did you say? And you're raising between 500 and 1,000 between the 2?
Reflex and Apollo are the 2 pads that we're using.
Okay. And are they both whitelist? I know I've seen that Toby's pulling up the Sweet widget. So are you doing that as a whitelist?
Doing it as a whitelist, but I believe Apollo doesn't do whitelist.
Okay.
I think Apollo, if I might be wrong, but I think Apollo has a different way of doing it. But then the Apollo guys will know better than me to manage that side of it, as hopefully you can appreciate. I don't believe in all the pies, because that's ineffective.
Yeah. And so are you going to have a pre-sale after the private sale, or is that then, does it go to public after that?
I think they go to public.
So just to be clear, are you looking to raise up to 1,000 BNB in total before you launch the token?
My bad. I misunderstood. No, we will then have another one. So we are going to pre-sale before launching. So we're having the whitelist or private, and then we're having pre-sale.
Okay, and how much are you looking to raise at pre-sale?
Between 500 and 1,000 BNB.
Okay, so best case scenario in your eyes, obviously, you'll have 2,000 BNB between private and pre-sale before you launch.
That would be best case, but realistically, we're more than happy with soft cap. Like I said, it's the figures that we designed and we had in place were whilst we were still evolving, and the white paper is being updated and the website's being updated, as you can tell. But because we have the real world utility and the additional revenue streams that will be coming in, we don't need to hit hard cap. But like with everything, best case, it would be great if we did that, because then we could open a pilot project in the main countries that we want to hit to start with, which is India, the UK, America and Australia. That would be awesome, but we don't need to do that. But if we had the opportunity, of course we would do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So soft cap 1,000, hard cap 2,000, and you've got 109 BNB raised at seed sale. So is the seed sale money all going towards marketing towards the private and pre-sale?
We're focusing on marketing. Obviously, that's the drive to get us out there and make sure that we are seen and people know who we are, and just to get the message out there, because I think there's a misunderstanding from people. One, we made the mistake of using the term affordable housing. It's a totally different thing so that was one thing that we had to and secondly, some people can't get their head around the simplicity of the actual idea, and they overcomplicate it, and that creates issues. So we're trying to get out there, get the message out there, and talk to as many people as possible. Because the key thing, Mark, is it's we're not trying to create some amazing new thing that's outside of the realms of any laws or legislation. We work within the current legislation, and all we do is tweak a couple of things that returns revenue to our token holders and our clients. It really is a simple process, and people need to try and not overcomplicate it and overthink the way it works. So it's a traditional business that works the way as any other traditional business within the field would, but with a couple of tweaks. It's as simple as that.
Yep. No, I hear you. And for anybody that is interested based on this and they want to invest at private sale, can you just quickly talk through the vesting schedule that you've got for each round?
And discount and prices, if that's okay.
But I didn't hear you, buddy. So if you can just, Mark spoke and then you had something to add, and I didn't hear that. So
sorry, just if you could add the level of discount as well to each round, that would be handy.
So seed was 1.2 million B&B. Private is 1 million per B&B. Public's going to be 800, and then we'll list at 600. So those are the rates. The vesting was it's 2-month cliff for all of them, and then it's 9 months, 6 months, and 4 months respectively. But we have a pre-vesting contract that offers APY. So people that vested directly with us get an APY on their tokens. We try to do it through the pads, but the pads can't, or they don't have that capability.
Okay, yep, that's fine. Anything to add, Toby?
No, buddy, I'm good, mate. For again.
Yeah, we've been going an hour and a half pretty much already and stuff. So just a quick one. I'm conscious that we want to open up to questions to people if they do want to ask any questions. When are you looking to launch?
The third. What we've done is we've taken the market conditions and we've used it to strengthen. We've added real world utility. We've added utility in our crypto ecosystem. We've formed some solid partnerships, some that are in place, some that will be announced shortly. So we've done everything we can to make sure that we have as much in place to make sure that we have a solid launch. And the thing I'd like people to remember is our hybrid system offers additional securities because the property market and the energy sector are two sectors that are, although they can be highly impacted, global economics, there's always more demand than supply for properties, and people have to use energy. So we've used two of what we feel are the most robust businesses and markets to create our revenue streams from. So, that offers additional security and a certain level and a tipping point. You guys can appreciate this. If people stick with us, I know there's day traders, but the people that stick with us, the HODL, there will come a time when the amount of rewards that you receive from all of the real world businesses and the ecosystem will outweigh the price of the token. That will happen at some point. And then we have a secondary market. One of our colleagues is looking at to address as and when that happens.
Perfect. Yeah, I think when a project can actually deliver through utilities rather than the token and the tokenomics and the buy and sell structure, then you've cracked it and stuff. So just to confirm, the private is the 29th and you're due to launch, did you say the 3rd of August? That's the plan.
Time in there because we wanted to make sure that we've got the utilities up and running and in place, so that when we list, we're ready to rock and roll.
Sorry, yeah, you cut out, I think, for me. Can you just confirm that date again for launch?
Yeah, listing will be the 3rd of September. So
Okay.
we've got July the 29th and then August the 27th are the two pre-sale rounds, and then we list on August the 3rd.
Cool.
That is to allow us time to complete what we've started with regards to getting the utilities up and running. We're in talks with some partnerships, and if we can get them in place, then, like I said, when we launch, we'll launch multiple utilities, real world and crypto.
Awesome. Yep. That all makes sense. Right. I'm conscious of time and people wanting to ask questions, so I'll just ask one last question, the question we always like to ask here at the Legit Crypto Lounge, and I think it's really fitting for your project, especially with your long-term ambitions and stuff. So for us, long-term success can't exist without a clear vision from you guys, the project owners. So my final question is, at what point does this project become a success to you?
As we have helped one family improve their life, it does, everything else on top of that is a bonus. As soon as we can make a difference, a genuine difference in someone's life, and have them add that security. There'll be different types of families, different types of individuals that come on board and join our project. But the ability of knowing that we're going to leave people in a safer place than when they started, especially with the portfolio, because that portfolio stays with the property, because we tie it to property. The individual cannot access and sell any of the tokens or stocks that are tied to that portfolio. So that's in perpetuity. So, even if this generation's okay and the next generation's okay, if the third generation falls on hard times, they'll have something to fall back on, as long as they haven't sold and moved somewhere else. But you know what I mean? Yeah, you only have to help one person improve one person's life, because that one person could go on to do something great in the world.
Cool. Yeah, no, I like it. Nice answer. I think, at this point then, let's end the recording and open it up to a Q&A, but just for the purposes of YouTube and the recording, just want to say, obviously, thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate you taking us through the project again with all of your updates as well. So good luck, obviously, with private pre and launch. If anybody is interested, we'll add all of the links obviously to your TG and website, so they can check out more details and find out ways of contributing as well. But yeah, really appreciate you joining us.